There will now be an opportunity for silent prayer or meditation. Please be seated. The Secretary will read the order.
Debate on vote number 10, Public Enterprises Appropriation Bill.
I now invite the Honorable the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation to introduce the debate.
Good afternoon, Honorable Chairperson of the session, Deputy Minister in the Presidency for Planning, Monitoring, Evaluation, Mr. Seisu Muhai, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Ms. Teliswa Ngweba, members of the Portfolio Committee on Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, honorable members of the House, Acting Director General of the Department of Enterprise or the dissolved Department of Public Enterprise, Ms. Jackie, and her team, including the CEOs that are here and the chairpersons of the SOEs that are here today, distinguished guests, members of the media, fellow South Africans. Let me first take this opportunity, Honorable Chairperson, to acknowledge that tomorrow we will be celebrating the International Nelson Mandela Day, and I would like to encourage all South Africans to play their part, to play their role, and do what we know that it's important to serve our people and to do something that is important for people that would not be able to repay us. I'm honored to present to you as part of my portfolio in the Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, the budget vote for state-owned enterprises for which I'm providing shareholder oversight. As we transit to a new shareholder model, we will be doing this together with the SOEs in ensuring that we play our role. President Ramaphosa announced that the Department of Public Enterprise will cease to exist and that the coordination of SOEs will then now be in presidency. It is in this context that the coordination is under the Ministry of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. State-owned enterprises play a critical role in key sectors of the South African economy. They are at the forefront of service delivery, providing essential services such as electricity, freight, passenger and cargo air transportation, port and rail services, defense and armaments, as well as forestry products. To ensure that the state can effectively enable economic and social development, it is imperative that SOEs are strengthened. Bolstering these entities will not only enhance their operational efficiency, but it will also ensure that they continue to meet the vital need of our nation, which is driving sustainable economic growth and definitely development. In 2020, the President of the Republic appointed the Presidential State-Owned Enterprise Council, which is also known as the PSEC, to advise on the reform, repositioning, and revitalization of our SOCs. In line with the recommendation made by this Presidential Review Committee on State-Owned Enterprises, and in accordance with the international best practices, the PSEC has recommended that South Africa adopts a centralized shareholder management model and establishes a holding company for strategic SOEs. In 2023, State of the Nation address, the President indicated that government would implement the recommendation of the PSEC to establish a state-owned holding company as part of a centralized model that will ensure effective oversight to our SOEs. The adoption of a centralized shareholder model or shareholder management model has the following advantages. It's got, first of all, a clear delineation of policy making, shareholding and regulatory roles by the state in governing SOEs. It also has greater coherence and consistency in application of the corporate governance standards across all SOEs. It also has greater transparency and accountability for SOE operations by enabling a uniform oversight and performance monitoring. To give effect to this centralized shareholding model, as recommended by the PSEC, the National State Enterprise Bill was approved by Cabinet in December 2023 and submitted to Parliament for processing and adoption, and that process is still going on. A lot of work has been done to strengthen SOEs to fulfill their mandate. Starting with Transnet, the board has established the executive management with an appointment of the Group Chief Executive Officer and the Group Chief Financial Officer. Another key milestone in the corporatization of Transnet National Port Authority, also known as TNPA, has appointed the inaugural board of TNP, as I've already said. The Transport Recovery Plan has developed with the aim to stabilize and turn the business around. The recovery plan focuses on the recovery of volumes from key operation across operating divisions through the implementation of a short-term tactical initiatives. This include amongst the most execution of the segment strategy approach to drive commercial returns and improve customer responsiveness across all operations. Government's attempt to address freight logistics issues has resulted in the formation of the National Logistics Crisis Committee to support Transnet in accelerating the implementation of structural reforms. The Freight Logistics Roadmap, which was approved by Cabinet in the year of 2023-2024 financial year, will allow third-party operators to utilize the rail network in the new financial year. We are making strides at the South African Airways as well. After the mutual termination of the strategic equity partner transaction with Takazo, SAA is revising its business plan. SAA will be expanding its route network to include regional and international routes to regain market share. Since it exited the business rescue process, SAA initially started with 6 aircraft and flying to 7 destinations, and currently it flies to 15 destinations, and it is divided as follows: 3 domestic, 9 regional, and 3 international, using 13 aircraft. SAA remains a viable business entity with no doubt. However, it needs capital to enable it to expand, and it will pursue alternative source of funding so that we don't put so much pressure on the fiscus. With regards to Denel, ladies and gentlemen, or honorable members, the board has also established its executive management through appointment of the Group CEO and Group CFO. Denel is implementing its turnaround strategy to attract new business and execute on its current order book. The shareholder continued to support its endeavors to regain its original equipment manufacturing status in the domestic and international defense and armaments market. Denel is also on a path towards stabilizing and growing sustainably, underpinned by the following: execution of the turnaround plan, strengthening of governance and internal controls, enhancing support of South African National Defence Force, developing strategic partnerships and future products, and most of all, investing in young engineering talent. We do know that we have lost a number of talent that we used to have, but we are regaining that and we're rebuilding it, and there's definitely progress in building the future that we want for this SOE. The board of ESCOM has established the executive management by the appointment of the Group Chief Executive Officer. In January 2023, a general operational recovery plan was put in place to improve plant reliability and end load shedding. The recovery initiative resulted in a progressive decrease of underpinned losses on the generation fleet. Cheers. There is now a considerable improvement in the energy availability factor. The aim is to achieve an energy, thank you so much. Am I fast? Thank you. I was not aware. I'll try to be slow. I speak fast. Okay. The aim, is this fine? The aim is to achieve an energy availability factor of 70% and maintain the performance to ensure adequate and sustainable energy capacity to meet the demand. ESCOM achieved 100 days of no load shedding on the 5th of July in 2024. And today, as we speak, we're celebrating 112 days. Furthermore, ESCOM is making progress in the restructuring of the utility into 3 subsidiaries, namely generation, transmission, and distribution. The National Transmission Company of South Africa has been established, and it has started trading on the 1st of July 2024 as an independent entity. The next entity to be established will be the National Electricity Distribution Company of South Africa. Honorable Chairperson, one of the best performing SOEs is SAFCOL. The board continues to demonstrate stability and efficiency, and with its diverse expertise, it has managed to regain both public and industry trust. SAFCOL is currently pursuing key projects to ensure its sustainability, although there is a lot of land claims in the land that it operates on. SAFCOL's commitment to socio-economic development is reflected in its comprehensive enterprise and supplier development program. The company's transformation division executes cooperative social investment programs in collaboration with stakeholders across 14 clusters, underlining a commitment to community development. Over the past 5 years, SAFCOL has invested about 30 million in social infrastructure projects and paid over 200 million to emerging suppliers through its incubation supplier program. SAFCOL continues to grow South Africa's plantation asset investment in other state-managed forestry plantation by sharing best forestry business and management. This will reduce unplanted areas and increase security on raw material for small and medium enterprises. Honorable Chairperson, the medium budget policy statement tabled in Parliament on the 1st of November 2023 showed that government faces severe fiscal pressures, including revenue declines, which will require expenditure reduction. Over the MTF, there was no provision made for recapitalization of any SOEs within the department's portfolio. The only allocation was with ESCOM. This is allocated through National Treasury under the ESCOM Debt Relief Act of 2023, together with the ESCOM Debt Relief Amendment Act of 2024. Honorable Chairperson, let me take this opportunity, of course, to thank you for allowing us to come and table this particular budget. And we are hoping that working together, we can definitely do more. SOEs remains our vital key director as it relates to our economy and meeting our developmental goals as well, as we believe that SOEs are a key driver and catalyst to ensuring that our developmental state and our developmental agenda as a state will definitely reach the conclusion that we want it to reach. Having said that, I therefore request that this budget of 296.49 million for the period of 2024-2025 financial year to be supported for the operations and oversight role that this department needs to play over the SOEs. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next speaker is the Honorable Ngweba.
Thank you very much, House Chair. The Minister of Department of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Honorable Maruping Ramakgopa, the Deputy Minister, Honorable Seiso Mohai, the Acting DG, Ms. Molisane, the management of all SOEs, honorable members, good afternoon. The establishment of the 7th administration implemented a micro-configuration in the management of state-owned enterprises under the Department of Public Enterprise. The decision of the President to locate the functions of the department in this transitional period, and by implication, its budget, vote, coordination and oversight executive function is with the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Honorable House Chair, it is for this reason that the Portfolio Committee on Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation is considering Budget Vote 10 of Public Enterprises. As the 7th Parliament, we are confronted with the circumstances that requires this House to pass the appropriation bill to appropriate funds to serve the people of South Africa. Our inability to comply with the legislative requirements of the money bills is not in the interest of the people of South Africa. We are within a continuum of a planned year because there is no vacuum in the state. Honorable House Chair, in its meeting focusing on Budget Vote 10 of Public Enterprises, the committee had a day-long discussion on the department's annual performance plan and made a number of observations and recommendations which seeks to strengthen the functionality and impact of state-owned entities. One of the key drivers of the development and growth of the economy is the role state-owned enterprises plays. The public enterprise portfolio comprises of Alexco, Denel, Eskom, Safcol, South African Airways, and Transnet. All these entities have a significant impact on our economy and their ability to respond to the needs of the people. State-owned enterprises also play a critical role in providing social and economic services. They impact the cost of living through the cost of electricity, goods and services as they impact the network industries. Honorable members, in essence, a developmental state's ability to directly stimulate economic growth lies in its state-owned enterprises and regulating broader market participants. House Chair, the objectives of the National Development Plan focuses on poverty, unemployment, and inequality. And part of addressing inequalities to transform economic sectors' value chains to support SMMEs, which are in the real economy, in order to transform the ownership and management of the economy. House Chair, we must tackle corruption elements that undermine our public enterprises' strategic mandate. And also we must develop a long-term strategic perspective on the role of our SOEs to tackle unemployment, ensure asset redistribution, and transform the South African economy to benefit its people. As the committee, we have made various observations that are part of the report. We are today more than 3 months without experiencing load shedding. And this is some of the progress recorded by Eskom. We today have various legislative frameworks which seeks to respond to the current conditions by involving private operators to contribute to the development of the sectors. Denel is in sound financial position, and also Safcol is making profits. Honorable House Chair, SAA is currently flying the skies, and the committee welcomes the upward strategy of our state-owned enterprises. Honorable House Chair, the committee plans to further scrutinize the budget allocated to consultant in the annual performance plan of 2024 and 2025. The committee notes that the energy security remains critical for socio-economic growth and will further monitor the restructuring of Eskom into 3 subsidiaries, namely generation, transmission, and distribution as planned. Honorable members, we have recommended that the Eskom roadmap to a reformed electricity supply, particularly the development and operationalization of the National Transmission Company of South Africa, be updated, and that a comprehensive plan be provided on Eskom's just energy transition. Honorable House Chair, we will have a workshop with the department to look at the implications of the shift of the public enterprises mandate to the minister and the roadmap towards the proposed roadmap. And we have also agreed to meet with the different state-owned enterprises within the mandate of the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, and that the department should report on the progress of the shareholder management bill on a quarterly basis. Honorable House Chair, we recognize that we're in a period of a transition, and as a portfolio committee will support and engage the process. And the African National Congress supports budget vote 10 of the public enterprise. I thank you, House Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Esak. While the member is approaching the podium, I want to invite the other members who will speak afterwards to make use of the chairs on both sides of the podium as waiting benches. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson. My fellow South Africans, this mini plenary debate takes place at a time when the Department of Public Enterprises has been dissolved and its functions, as most of you might be aware now, moved to the presidency. Of course, the jury is still out on whether this was a move in the right direction, considering the fact that several state functions have been mopped up now into the presidency over a few years now. We have to honestly ask ourselves, my fellow South Africans, ask ourselves the question of whether a super presidency has the capacity to oversee and fix the systemic challenges facing the state-owned enterprises. The challenge, of course, that is facing SOEs is that more time has been spent on diagnosis rather than doing the actual work of turning them around. So please make your notes. In 2013, again, please make your notes. In 2013, a presidential review committee on SOEs was appointed to respond, and also a single SOE Act that should apply to all SOEs across the government as a whole. And of course, a re-examination of financing SOEs, which striking a better balance between equity and debt financing. Of course, for those that might be able to comprehend what I'm saying. More than a decade, of course, after releasing its final report, no progress has been made to implement its recommendations. There is still no standardized framework for the appointment and remuneration of senior executives at SOEs. The entities are now entirely dependent on the fiscus, and of course, they're always running to their rainy day bailouts. So therefore, it does not help that when South Africans are trying to shield themselves from load shedding and high electricity tariffs, the government goes ahead and does the unthinkable, impose import tariffs on solar kits. Mark my words, with the introduction of this import tariff, we are going to see a steep decline of the 4.4 gigawatts of solar power that has been installed thus far. And we are not even out of the load shedding woods as yet. Now, let me slow down a little for others to comprehend and digest. You see, Chairperson, this House needs to remain alive to the fact that SOEs are still in deep financial trouble. I repeat, deep financial trouble. Transnet's heavy debt load shedding hangs like an albatross on its neck. SAA still needs an equity partner to infuse much needed working capital. And Denel remains in financial distress. So to come here and paint a glory picture about SAA and its roots and regional, etc., is just not on, Chair. Anyway, the situation is made worse by the stark reality that their usual go-to-day rainy fund now, of course, the fiscus is empty, as I mentioned, and of course in no position to shoulder these endless bailouts. Unless these entities find ways to finance their operations and pay their debts from their balance sheets, they have a very, very difficult road ahead. Therefore, it remains imperative, and colleagues, I ask you to digest this for future reference during the course of the 5th Parliament. It remains imperative that these entities must also be accountable to the committees that they fall under, so that there's proper accountability and oversight within the committees. That is for Transnet, Denel, SAA, etc. I bet you guys are sharp enough to know it all. So therefore, in conclusion, Chairperson, an opportunity does exist to turn around the SOEs if the statement of intent for the GNU is implemented in its letter and its spirit. The DA, of course, as all of you know by now, has actionable propositions that could bring stability in SOEs and, of course, set them on a path to financial stability. This will only be possible if all parties within the GNU embrace the spirit of cooperation and start working towards a common goal, colleagues, so that we start fixing what is broken in this economy. With the President bringing the administration of SOEs now under his wing, it is our sincere hope, my fellow South Africans, it is our sincere hope as a Democratic Alliance that he, of course, together with his partners in the African National Congress and with our other fellow colleagues, that we will work together with the GNU partners to find lasting solutions that will put these SOEs on a path of recovery and, of course, commercial success. I'm grateful for this opportunity and I thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Mutubatse.
No, thanks, Trovela Dumela, the Matekwa. Chair, I've been delegated by the MK party to come and deliver this message to the nation, because we've been delegated to be very clear. Currently, we have about 700 SOEs in this country. And a few are actually known because they've been in the public domain. Now, we are going to paint a story, a real painful story of what actually transpired with regard to these SOEs. But first, we want to actually indicate that we, as the MK party, we reject this budget. Having rejected this budget, we call for the Commission of Inquiry into these SOEs, because we want to follow through to understand where are these SOEs, the ones that are actually in the departments, the ones that we can actually see. And then at the end of this particular inquiry, we would actually want to see the silos that actually exist at this current time being dealt away with. Because we would actually want to see, because we've got the capacity in this country to can build aircraft through Denel. Now, there's no reason why we can't build cars. In the past few days, we had the Department of Public and Administration and many other departments priding themselves that they will actually be going around with buses. And the question that we actually asked ourselves, where are those buses and who is actually going to build those buses? We have got young people who actually languish in this country who should actually be given the responsibility through Denel to actually build those buses, SAA been given the responsibility to build those aircrafts if we are serious about transforming this particular country. And to us, that's what needs to actually happen. And that is actually not happening. We can't actually be speaking and not acting. Hence, we are saying that we need to actually be honorable. The responsibilities that are actually provided to those SOEs must actually be afforded the opportunity to deal with those issues. Therefore, that Commission of Inquiry must actually be able to go and point out, because we know, for example, that the reason why these particular enterprises are put under one person who 30 years back was actually carrying a bag at Marshall Street. This particular person was actually thrown into the system to come and destroy the system. This particular individual sitting here overseeing the structures is the one who actually dealt with these OSCs to the level where they are today. On the second part, we'll actually explain, and that is why our own president, Jacob Zuma, stopped.
Honorable member, your time has now expired. Thank you.
You can shout, we'll respond. But
Thank
that's
you.
the limit.
Honorable members. The next speaker is the Honorable Mawatwe.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Order, honorable members.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, what happened at the Department of Public Enterprise should be characterized as the failure of the incompetent minister who was deployed by the African National Congress, whose sole mandate was to go and collapse all the SOEs and sell it to his friends and cronies. So let's tackle them one by one, Chair. We start with SA Express. SA Express closed its doors without even paying salaries and medical aid to the employees that used to contribute. Today, those families of the former employees of SA Express are lingering in the street with poverty. SAA Chair, the minister went to put it under business rescue and claimed that he wants to grow it back to its glory days. What we've seen the minister done is, after the failed attempt to sell it to his friends through Takatso Consortium for 51 Rand, and when he realized that he's ran out of time because his term was coming to an end, and he couldn't risk it being taken over by a new minister because they were going to uncover serious irregularities and corruption, he then reversed his decision and said, no, SAA is no longer being privatized. We see SAA flying now in the skies of South Africa, but we still have questions that former minister must answer to say what happened to that SAA during the business rescue period. What transactions were entered into, by who, authorized by who, and how much was spent? Pravin must go to jail. House Chair, let's deal with the fact that Fly Cafe suddenly became the best and fastest growing airline in the country. Why? Because Pravin collapsed SAA, which was a state-owned company. Then he made the customers of SAA to go to Fly Cafe, so that SAA can be seen as if it's profitable and is better than any other airline. We need to know the relationship of Pravin Gordhan and Fly Cafe executive management. Okay, let's talk about Transnet. Transnet is by far the largest and biggest railway in the continent. Transnet borders over 22,000 kilometers of track. The second biggest in the continent is Egypt with just over 8,000 kilometers of track. So compared to 22 kilometers and 8 kilometers, it's nothing. Transnet has over 75,000 wagons, over 4,500 locomotives, abundance of bulk commodities in this country which can be moved. During the days of Siyabonga Gama, I was an executive manager at Transnet. We used to move over 200 million tons of cargo per annum. Today, with your Michelle Phillips, she's even struggling to run just over 150 million. With your former darling, Portia Debbie, she couldn't get even anywhere near that 150, with the same asset, with the same employees. So what happened to Transnet exactly? Then this Michelle Phillips invites private sector to come and invest into Transnet. What exactly are they investing? Because Transnet has got track, has got rolling stock, has got, the mines are there, they're opened. So what exactly is private sector coming to invest? They want to privatize as Transnet. Now, this past month, we're told that Green Road was handpicked as a consortium to run Richards Bay ports, with a company in it called DP World, which has close links to Imperial Logistics. Who is the director of Imperial Logistics? Phumzile Langeni. Who is Phumzile Langeni? Handpicked and appointed by Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa in his special investment envoy. Now, here we're not asking you to connect the dots, Minister. The dots are connected. So there is corruption here in this country. Chair, the last one before my time finishes, Dinel. Dinel used to be the best performing entity. You know, during Dinel's glory days, we even had a project of creating and manufacturing a SADC region airline, which was going to be manufactured by Transnet. Dinel used to boast a big order book of billions of rands. It took about 2 years for Pravin to collapse that Dinel. And now today, Dinel can't even pay salaries. Chair, we are saying to the minister, repurpose the Department of Public Enterprise to drive the industrialization of this country, to drive the economic growth of this country so that we can create jobs for our people. You need the land, Minister, for you to industrialize the country because you need to build factories. You need to expand the railway network of Transnet. You need to build new solar energies in this country. You need to expand and build new coal power stations. By the way, we commend the board of ESCOM for having refused to close the coal power stations. And we demand the immediate opening of Komati coal power station with immediate effect. Now, we want you, Minister, to build these factories, but you can't build them in the air, so you need the land. Once we've got the land, stabilize ESCOM, give electricity to these factories so that they can drive the economic growth of this country and our people can get jobs. That is why, as the EFF was saying, we want land and jobs now. Stop load shedding. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Nkosi Kebekulu. Order, Honorable Members.
Thank you, House Chairperson.
Order, Honorable
Board
Members.
The IFP has never shied away from voicing its frustration regarding the management of state-owned enterprises. Last year, we even wrote to the former Speaker of the National Assembly requesting an urgent debate on parliamentary intervention for the dismally failing state-owned enterprises. These entities have been facing immense challenges over the course of many years, including financial mismanagement, corruption, and operational inefficiencies. This has led to significant financial burdens on taxpayers and detrimental impact on the delivery of essential services to the citizens. Thus, the IFP commitment to good governance, transparency, and accountability in South Africa's public institutions compelled us to constantly urge for the implementation of public-private partnerships when it comes to SOEs, as these entities could not be left unchecked and allowed to drain the economy and leave thousands of South Africans, such as those who worked for SAA, Danel, Transcendent, and others, unemployed. Therefore, even though it has come more than a year later, we were delighted to see that Honorable President considered our words when he announced he would be dissolving the Ministry of Public Enterprises and moving the Portfolio Committee into the presidency. These actions speak to what the IFP has called for many times over the years, which is for the government to be more proactive in dealing with SOEs and actively implementing solutions instead of merely lamenting its failures. It is with this in mind that we heed the recommendation of the Portfolio Committee on Planning, Monitoring, and Evaluation that the ministry regularly reports on the establishment of operationalization of the Presidency SOE Coordination Council. The last thing our country needs is for already failing entities to be moved to their respective policy departments and then cause a ripple effect in causing further failure under the management of the department. It is our hope that this new administration and the massive leap it took to dissolving the Department of Public Enterprises will ensure that their next course of action as it pertains to SOEs is informed by the necessary data to actually affect change for the people of South Africa and not just in a bid to shift the public's attention from how SOEs have failed them. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Member. The next speaker is the Honorable Dr. Letlape.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to the Minister. I'm not too sure when you go inside the presidency whether you still have deputies and DGs or you are under a different infrastructure, but I acknowledge all the officers inside. One of the things that we find disturbing as Action SA is poor governance around our state entities. And we need to ensure that governance is improved and political and executive oversight should not amount to interference with operations. We need to review the appropriateness of the PFMA as a structure to manage our state-owned enterprises. If you run a business, that has to compete with others. The PFMA is not necessarily the best framework to use. That's why there are corporate structures in terms of how businesses are run. And we hope that the government would understand that these enterprises are businesses. They cannot be turned into national spaza shops. So stop running them like spaza shops. Give authority to the board. Do not interfere with what they do and give them the ability to account. Management must report to the board. Management must not be proxies of political officers. They must not be proxies of ministers. And there should be transparency in that regard. Because if we do not do that, we create these structures as beneficiation structures for politicians. We have too much government. So we don't know when you talk about energy, do we address you, Minister, or do we speak to the Minister of Electricity, or do we speak to the Minister of Energy? Too much concurrency. But we've moved from having a company that was the electricity company of the year in 2000 in the world, that produced the cheapest electricity in the world, to one where citizens can't afford the electricity. Why do we talk about beneficiation? On minerals, we don't have the capacity to benefit from. And the one in which we can benefit, all of us, coal. We're exporting, destroying our roads, getting the coal to other markets who are going to burn it in the same planet that we live in. Why can't the coal go to benefit all of us? Without energy, we can't run hospitals. Without energy, nothing runs. You make energy unaffordable, you cannot create jobs. Why is it not common sense that we go back? I mean, the minerals are supposed to be owned, or government is custodian of minerals. We talk about the Freedom Charter, but we talk left and walk right. We are not custodians of the minerals on behalf of the citizens. The utility company should be getting the coal, high quality coal, at cost, so that we can produce energy in accordance with the international emission standards of the world and be able to get uninterrupted electricity to kickstart our economy. Political interference should be criminalized, Minister, so that the enterprises can run like proper businesses.
Thank you, Honourable Member. The next speaker is the Honourable Deputy Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation.
Thank you very much, House Chair, Honorable Frederick, Honorable Minister, in the Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation, Minister Ramokgopa, Honorable Chair, Meteliswa, and all members of the Portfolio Committee. It is my pleasure to address this House to share the importance of the mandate played by the state-owned enterprises in the transformation and job creation in South Africa. The state-owned enterprises such as Transnet, Eskom, Denel, Safcol, and the South African Airways and Alesco are more than just pillars of our economy. They are instrumental in fostering socio-economic development, inclusivity, and sustainable growth. These are important portfolios falling under public enterprises as part of this budget vote, 2024 and 25th financial year. President Cyril Ramaphosa announced a significant change for the country's state-owned enterprises, dissolving the Ministry of Public Enterprises and moving the portfolio into the presidency. During the announcement of the South Africa 7th Administration National Executive, the president stated, and I quote, "The coordination of the relevant public enterprises will be located in the presidency During the process of implementing a new stakeholder model, the minister has shared with us how the process will unfold. The state-owned enterprises are significant role players. Our country's economy are well positioned to reignite and propel industrialization. That places them at the forefront of service delivery, providing essential services such as electricity, freight, passenger and cargo, air transportation, port and rail services, defense and armaments, as well as forestry products. To ensure that the state can effectively enable economic and social development, it is imperative that state-owned enterprises are strengthened. Bolstering these entities will not only enhance their operational efficiency, but also ensure that they continue to meet the vital needs of our nation, driving sustainable growth, economic growth and development. In the words of Amica Cabral, and I quote, "Hide nothing from the masses of our people. Tell no lies whenever they are told. Mask no difficulties, mistake failures, claim no easy victories." Many of you know the orientation of the revolutionary organization that some of us belong to. So it is this lesson, Chairperson, it is this lesson that guide our conscience when we come to present to this House. The achievements public enterprises has made, the challenges we have experienced, and the way forward in our effort to make the lives of our people better. Despite the recent successes in these entities, we are of course cognizant of the past challenges within the SOEs, with issues, for example, such as lack of capacity, improper governance, lax financial management, corruption, and administrative instability. We should not avoid to talk about state capture, talk about many commissions, and there are revelations with regard to the management of state-owned enterprises. We should not have selective morality when we discuss these issues. We should deal with them politically. The minister has elaborated in details in the implementation of the recommendation of the presidential state-owned council to establish state-owned holding company as part of a centralized shareholder model that will ensure effective oversight of state-owned enterprises. This process will yield positive results as instructed by the president, that the presidency and national treasury to work together to rationalize the country many SOEs which play a crucial role in the provision of public goods and infrastructure to enable economic growth. The National Treasury estimates that the government could achieve a potential saving of up to about 27 billion in the medium term if it deals with the overlapping mandates, closes ineffective programs, and consolidate SOEs where appropriate. Transnet plays a vital role in our logistics. We agree with many of your observations. Transnet is critical. By ensuring the efficient movement of goods across the country and beyond, Transnet facilitates trade and commerce, which are essential for economic growth. Their infrastructure development projects create jobs and stimulate local economies, contributing to the broader development goals of South Africa. It is on that basis that it is in our interest to fix Transnet and ensure that it is repositioned in a manner that makes this immense contribution to economic growth and development. The South African Airlines, as the minister indicated, SAA is very much alive. After almost a total collapse, despite many known challenges, there has been a significant improvement, which we welcome. As we pointed out, that many of the improvements also within the ESCOM group, as indicated by the minister, that the chief executive officer, as was appointed, has brought leadership and stability to the organization. And we must appreciate that his dedication and commitment, as well as his efforts to keep management and staff focused and motivated with hands-on approach, has yielded positive results. It is through his stewardship that the state power utility managed to navigate through challenges and achieving significant milestones in a short period of time. We welcome the role that Denel is playing, and particularly its significance. Through its financial turnaround strategy, Denel has moved from a loss-making position to a modest financial stability through its high standard in corporate governance and financial management have improved. The entity is rebuilding its technical and engineering capability following an exodus, as it was pointed out, of personnel to international competitors. The arms entity is a national asset with its focus on defense and technological innovation, is key to national security and technological advancement. It also contributes significantly to skills development through its various training programs, helping to build a competent force that can meet the demands of the modern economy. Through many other initiatives, it is in this area that we'll expect very quick industrial programs to kickstart. SOEs have made a significant stride in driving economic transformation and inclusivity in our country. Through their procurement policies are crucial for empowering previously disadvantaged groups and ensuring that the benefits of economic growth are more equitably distributed. SOEs are also supporting the implementation of gender-responsive planning, budgeting and monitoring, evaluation and auditing framework to strengthen and mainstreaming gender, youth, persons with disability. For example, Eskom, Safcol, and Transnet have initiated numerous community upliftment projects, contributing significantly to local development by mainly focusing on education, community development, infrastructure, and sports interventions. Chairperson, to conclude, one has to restate that state-owned enterprises play a pivotal role in South Africa's transformation and corporate social investment landscape. They are essential for economic growth, skills development, and inclusivity. I'm fundamentally an optimist that these entities have a role to play, and we have to play our role as members of parliament to ensure that we really position them back as a catalyst to South Africa's economy. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The next speaker is Honorable Swart. Microphone, Honorable Member.
The Department of Public Enterprise and the Minister was and is the shareholder representative for the government on the state-owned companies in its portfolio. We now understand the realignment, and we congratulate the Minister on your appointment and the fact that these entities will now fall under the presidency for the time being. These include Transnet SA, Denel, Safcol, and Alex Course. The question is, of course, how long will they resort there until they fall down to their line function departments? That we will look forward to seeing that progress. Now, we also welcome the reprieve that the country has had from the power crisis that we experienced in the past that severely impacted electricity, households, businesses, and we fully appreciate and we give credit where credit is due, 100 days without load shedding, which is to be welcome. So we do commend the Minister of Eskom and the Minister of Electricity in that regard. Minister, obviously Transnet is a massive concern. Billions of rands of exports were unable to be exported, and we heard passionate pleas of what happened in the past. I think it was 200 million tons that were exported. Sadly, due to mismanagement and an inability to protect lines from thieves, freight volumes have plummeted dramatically. The Minerals Council estimates inefficiencies cost the country a staggering 150 billion rand in forfeited mineral exports. And this could be even worse than load shedding. So we welcome the intervention of the National Logistics Crisis Committee, and we look forward to an improvement in that regard. The Minerals Council said with additional exports, you could create an additional 40,000 jobs, and that is significant. So we appreciate the working together of the Minerals Council and Transnet to solve those very significant bottlenecks. And whilst much has been done with the new management, we believe far more can be done. And we also take note of the National State Enterprises Bill that will create the holding company for all SOCs. We look forward to engaging with the details of this very important bill. And other speakers have referred to clarity that will be required as to how this bill interacts with other pieces of legislation, particularly the Companies Act, the PFMA Act, and the existing SOEs found in legislation. So there's a lot of work to be done in that regard, and we notice that there are a number of concerns that have been addressed in that regard. But we really appreciate the fact that SOEs can contribute significantly to economic growth after having been hollowed out. Let's not forget that, hollowed out, and that we look forward to the improved role that they can play in economic growth and job creation in our nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Member. Do we have the UDM? Rise Muzansi. Bosa. ATM. The next speaker will be Honorable Kumbata.
Honorable Minister Ramokgopa, Honorable Deputy Minister Mohai, Honorable Chairperson, distinguished guests, fellow South Africans, I extend my greetings to everyone on the eve of Tata Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela's day of birth. While the Department of Public Enterprises will be discontinued in the 7th administration, we must applaud the work done by the DPE to recover, renew, and rebuild our state-owned enterprises as catalysts for inclusive economic growth, structural transformation, and industrialization. Honorable members, now you're probably asking yourself, in what sense then have our SOEs been recovered, renewed, and rebuilt? It is crucial to recognize that the South African economy has remained demand constrained and has been operating at below its full potential.
Honorable Kumbata, you are too close to the mic and you are not that audible.
Okay.
I know your voice, but you are too close. Yes.
Okay. It is crucial to recognize that the South African economy has remained demand constrained and has been operating at below its full potential. SOEs have been considered a likely candidate for weak cumulative demand, which is holding back rapid economic growth and job creation in the South African economy. This is partly because SOEs are tasked with the responsibility to improve South Africa's macroeconomic performance, much of which has been poor. The poor record with respect to the macroeconomic performance has been attributed to the operational and financial inefficiencies in Eskom and Transnet, which seriously threatened the SID administration's attempt to reduce the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. To reverse the underperformance of Eskom and Transnet, the DPE, working alongside the Presidential SOEs Council, has been able to final attention on implementing progressive interventions and reforms to reclaim, modify, and reposition Eskom and Transnet so that they can be more responsive to their mandate as catalysts for economic growth, structural transformation, and industrialization. Honorable members, two interventions need to be considered here as qualifiers in responding to the underperformance of Eskom and Transnet. The first one is Eskom's Plant Performance Recovery Plan, which seeks to end load shedding via the recovery of 6,000 megawatts by the 31st of March 2025. From 8 poorly performing stations, which are Kendal, Matla, Majuba, Duva, Tutuka, and Kosile power stations. More crucially, since the appointment of the new board chairperson, Mr. Mteto Nyati, and the new group chief executive officer, Mr. Dan Murakane, Eskom has enhanced its capability to respond to the challenge to end load shedding. The significant positive effects of the Plant Performance Recovery Plan are made especially clear by the strength of Eskom to suspend load shedding for more than 100 days and counting since the beginning of the year. The second one is Transnet's recovery plan, whose key elements include, among other things, protecting the rail network and optimization of the rolling stock, recovering rail volumes on coal and iron ore corridors, which have faced marked decline since the 2017 and 2018 financial year, and improving efficiencies of the ports. Following this, it is important to recognize that by early March 2024, total rail volumes were already showing a significant recovery, registering over 3 million tons per week versus 1.9 million tons per week prior to the implementation of the recovery plan. In addition to this, coal corridor recovery tempo exceeded the recovery plan by 28%. Honorable members, Budget Vote 10 also prepares ESCOM and Transnet for an inevitable future in a different way and addresses how these SOEs might contribute to the economic growth, structural transformation, and industrialization. To be explicit, the budget vote seeks to translate the ESCOM roadmap, which is geared towards improving transparency, accountability, cost efficiencies, and enable competition in the electricity sector. And the Transnet roadmap, which is aimed at opening access to third-party operators on the rail network starting in May 2024. Ours as public representatives ensure these functions are strengthened and their rapid implementation ensues. Furthermore, the department's industrial strategy, which encompasses sector oversight and addresses national dilemmas we face, makes efforts to ensure transformation under the national system of state-owned enterprises. The department is very deliberate in its efforts to resuscitate our SOEs and better the lives of South Africans. Honorable members, on a final note, as I've highlighted in this debate, efforts to recover, renew, and rebuild ESCOM and Transnet have proceeded apace in the sixth administration. It is therefore important to note these efforts and ensure that they solidified in the seventh administration of the ANC-led government of national unity, so that the SOEs can reverse the downturn of economic growth and job creation in the South African economy. The people of South Africa are waiting and yearning for a better life. The clock is ticking and we have no time. We will never be able to regain the time lost. And remember that any minute we waste now hinders economic growth, development, and a sustainable future. We need to be willful as public representatives to climb together and walk towards the pinnacles we hope to reach for the people of South Africa. With that being said, the African National Congress supports the adoption of Budget Vote 10 of the public enterprises. We also urge all those who are truthful in their quest to better the lives of South Africa and its people to follow suit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Al-Jama, NCC, PAC, UAT, good. Honorable Mtlitama. No, it's Honorable Mtlitama.
I bring you greetings from Nkandla. Honorable Minister, Deputy Minister, honorable members, I want to add my voice to the international outcry about the children of Kenya being murdered by that regime for simply asking for economic freedom. Those young people of Kenya are children of Dedan Kimathi, the leader of the Mau Mau, who was murdered by the British colonialists in the battle for decolonization of Kenya. Our children here experience the same exclusion. And if we are not careful, we shall see the flames of Kenya in the streets of this country as well. But we are here to pay our respect to those children who are dying in Kenya. Now, coming back home, there is a strange situation here. This ministry subliminally has accepted another ministry. And we're supposed to be planning and evaluating. How can we evaluate a ministry which is subsumed into this ministry? This is violation of basic planning principles, but there's functionality for this dysfunction. It is aimed to make sure that privatization happens as a result of this chaos. Now, I have asked one of the senior members of government, where is electricity? Because there is a ministry responsible for electricity, for ESCOM, but ESCOM is also under this particular ministry. Who is responsible for ESCOM, therefore? The answer was the president may clarify in his State of opening of the parliament address. So there is chaos here, but that chaos, as I say, is functional to the project of privatization. We learned from Noam Chomsky that it is a base standard practice. You defund, you run down, you justify privatization. So this lack of planning, this chaos is functional to the privatization agenda of the Democratic Alliance in that GNU. Basically, we are run by the Democratic Alliance in this government. I have made contact with our people in Richtersveld, where Alexco is a company, holding company, owning 51% and the community 49%. Now, the reports that we have seen, Alexco is declaring that they've realized a profit. That's great, positive news. Now, I ask the people of Richtersveld, have you seen 1 cent coming into that community as a result of the exploitation of your diamonds? They've said over all those years, they have not seen 1 cent. I want to suggest, Minister and Chair of the committee, that we must go to Richtersveld and go to listen to the people of Richtersveld who are poor in the midst of so many diamonds that have been taken out of their communities, but they don't benefit. We must listen to our people and we must plan for change. This current planning is calculated to justify privatization, and therefore we reject this budget. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. The next speaker, order, Honorable Members, order. I see a hand.
No, Chair, it's not an order because it might not be recognized in the books. No. That's why you must listen. Chair, it's just an announcement.
No.
Choir, please, choir.
Can you assist me to?
No, I'm helping you.
No.
Because this might affect the House. Are you able to listen so that might assist the House?
You must allow me to rule if it's out of order.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
It won't be out of order. It's just that I just received a message that comes from a Khayelitsha that they've not actually experienced the 112 days that the minister spoke about on load shedding.
No, I choose
that's
not
fine. That's
to
an
take the
announcement.
announcement. Thank you very much. Can you switch it off, please? Can you please switch off the mic? Honorable Member, can you please switch off the mic? Thank you. The next speaker will be Honorable Christie.
I'm very over enthusiastic. It's on, right? Great. House Chairperson, our state-owned enterprises, Eskom, Denel, Transnet, SAA, were ground zero for state capture. In the 6th Parliament, government spent nearly 300 billion rand bailing out our SOEs. The gross mismanagement of our SOEs squandered taxpayer funds, which could have been used for our schools, hospitals, ports, and railways. I see the same story unfolding with the proposed National State Enterprises Bill, but worse. Without the Department of Public Enterprises and its portfolio committee, SOEs, now to be called state-owned companies or SOCs, will be based in an already bloated presidency and will be controlled by a centralized holding company with less oversight. If the presentation of the annual performance plan is anything to go by, we are already seeing the future. State entities orphaned and the feeding trough placed away from committee oversight. With less than 48 hours to present an opinion and approve a report in time for the Appropriation Committee, our Portfolio Committee was fed a report via Zoom and a committee report half an hour later and is expected to debate it today. Was enough done to accommodate our committee? This is not a fitting way to begin this committee, let alone Parliament. Under the National State Enterprises Bill, the holding company and its subsidiary SOCs will be removed from the application of the Public Finance Management Act. Only the President with his cabinet will regulate the objectives and performance targets of the SOCs without sufficient parliamentary oversight. Where will the safeguards be for the board of the holding company to ensure its independence? Will our cabinet be able to hold the SOCs to account? The Office of the Presidency reports to the Portfolio Committee of the DPME, but considering the mammoth task ahead of us of fixing our broken SOEs, does this provide sufficient oversight powers, and will Parliament be able to intervene and expose undue influence or abuse of the holding company's powers? Consider that the DPME is a small department with an annual budget of only R500 million. This is a recipe for further decline in our SOCs. This department's success lies in ensuring that other ministries are running optimally, and we've got to get Eskom, Transnet, Denel, and SAA working again. Let's look at Transnet and our freight railways. Mining companies are unable to transport our minerals to our ports. Our railways are messed up. Our roads are being worn down as expensive and heavy trucks are used to transport minerals to our ports. Higher transport port costs for mines directly impacts jobs in our mines. Cape Town's port has been rated the worst in the world. Our farmers, including new up-and-coming young Black winemakers, want to export our fruit and wine all over the world. Yet their containers wait at the docks until the produce rots. This directly impacts jobs on our farms. We must devolve port operations to capable local and provincial governments. Chairperson, how do we get SA working again? All we need to do is get the basics right. Basic competence in our SOCs, putting the right people in the right place and ensuring that they do their jobs. Where will the checks and balances be to ensure that managers and staff don't steal or make dodgy deals with contractors? How are we as the committee for the DPME supposed to hold our SOCs accountable with their disastrous track record of delivery? I'm not going to preside over another 5 years of SOE decline and grime. As tabled yesterday in our committee report for this APP, the DA submitted our minority report stating our serious concerns around the rushed process where we've been asked to pick up the work of the 6th administration and rubber stamp their efforts. This undermines the process of oversight and the importance of consensus. Noting the restraints and logistics that have made it impossible for us to deliberate productively and fairly, we as the minority in this committee cannot express a fair and proper opinion, and therefore reserve our right to vote on this report and distance ourselves from the recommendations contained in the APP. Minister.
Honorable Christie, can you please take a seat? Honorable Skosan.
Mgcinisihlalo, bengibawa ukubuza ukuthi angathatha umbuzo, honorable member.
Honorable Christie, he is asking if you are prepared to take a question. Honorable Christie will take a question after the speech, unfortunately.
Okay.
Can you proceed, Honorable Christie?
Minister and Chairperson know that we are committed to meaningful and productive oversight based on mutual respect, with our sights set on service delivery for all South Africans. And in my last 35 seconds, I want to say that my colleagues bemoan tax revenue declines, less and less for our government to work with. But that's because businesses, farms, and mines are struggling. We need to create a business-friendly environment by creating basic service delivery, affordable electricity, rails to transport our coal and fruit to functioning ports for exports. If we can do this for our mines, businesses, and farms, their revenue will go up and government's tax revenue will go up. I thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, honorable member.
Do I take that question?
No.
Take the question.
The next speaker will be order, order, honorable members. Order. Order, honorable members. The next speaker will be Honorable Subrati.
Honorable House Chair, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable members, members of the media, and fellow South Africans, allow me to again greet you in a greeting of peace. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Almighty be upon us all. Honorable members, as we journey as a committee, let us work together as honorable members. Let us find a way of respecting each other, seeking truth through facts, and realizing that each one of us has something to offer. Whilst we differ, we have a responsibility to reflect the view of the committee. When one's view was not accepted by the committee, we must use platforms like this debate to motivate our view. It is critical to note that this Budget Vote 10 has been one purported means through which the recovery, the renewal, and the rebuilding of state-owned enterprises can be stabilized. As is well known, one of the main challenges confronting SOEs has been enduring the legacy of state capture, of maladministration, and of corruption. A crucial consequence of state capture, maladministration, and corruption has been the underperformance of SOEs with undesirable effects on the South African economy, the fiscus, and the general welfare of South African citizens. From this point of departure, Honorable Chair, the Department of Public Enterprises has carried out interventions, reforms, and turnaround plans guided by the injunction of the President that the President gave back in his 2018 State of the Nation address for the DPE to intervene decisively to stabilize and revitalize SOEs. There is ample evidence that the interventions, the reforms, and the turnaround plans that have occurred have reorientated our SOEs away from enduring the legacy of state capture, of maladministration, and of corruption. Honorable members, Honorable Chair, SOEs are not dead, as some would want us to think. SOEs are alive. SOEs are kicking. They are turning around, and we are seeing it. We are fortunate that in the 7th administration, we are inheriting the oversight over SOEs that are in an upward trajectory. As Honorable Andisiwe stated on the progress of Eskom, we have had no load shedding for over 100 days. Transnet is also on the growth path. The South African Forestry Company, though impacted by climate change, the group realized a profit of 300 million rands in 2023 and managed to pay a dividend. SAA has witnessed a wave of increase in its fleet since it resumed operations with only 6 aircrafts, and now, honorable members, it is aiming to have as many as 20 aircrafts in its fleet by the first quarter of 2025-26 financial year. Not surprisingly, it is now possible for SAA to expand its international routes. This provides SAA with the opportunity to reposition itself as a global aviation player and capitalize on the emerging domestic and international markets. The next is Denel. Denel is on the verge of implementing its turnaround plan to attract new business and execute its current order book close to 20 billion rands. Let that sink in, 20 billion rands, thus implying that the DPE's interventions, the DPE's reforms and turnaround plans are at work and are yielding significant positive effects. A good illustration of this, honorable members, is that Denel's total sales have increased from approximately 1 billion in the 2022-23 financial year to 2 billion in the 23-24 financial year. And the implicit assumption of this is that Denel has the headroom, honorable members, for raising sales in the event of increased demand from countries that seek to improve their military capabilities. Another interesting example is Alexco. Alexco's profit increased by 63% from 43 million in the 23 financial year to 70 million in the 23-24 financial year, thanks to the pooling and joint ventures group revenue, which increased by 116% from 228 million to 492 million in the 23-24 financial year. Comrade Chair, Budget Vote 10 allocates funds to improve the capacity of the DPE to monitor the implementation of interventions, of reforms and turnaround plans introduced at SAA, at Denel and Alexco in the 24-25.
Can you please take a seat? Honorable Mkutama.
The honorable member is misleading the House. On the Safcol matter.
No, Honorable Mkutama, you are not allowed to do that.
Invested
Honorable Mkutama.
billion.
Honorable Mkutama. Honorable
Dividends,
Mkutama.
what's that?
Honorable Mkutama. Please don't do that again. And please don't switch the mic before you raise your hand and you are recognized. Honorable member.
I think, Chair, it's unparliamentary to open with a prayer and lie in the process.
No, honorable member.
We take serious offense because we are also
Honorable
Christians,
member,
Chair.
can you please switch off the mic? Yes, honorable member.
Member, is the word comrade chair allowed in this house?
Point taken. I'm an honorable member. Honorable Sobrani, can you refer to me as an honorable member instead of a comrade? Thank you very much. Can you proceed?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Whilst we are mindful that DPE will be discontinued on the 7th administration, we must be reminded that DPE has worked tirelessly to ensure that the boards appointed at SAA, at Denel, at Alexco have leaders who embody integrity, who embody professionalism, courage, patriotism, and selflessness. The board performance, BPI, which will be rolled out in the 24-25 financial year, is meant to theoretically and empirically ensure that these boards repurpose and stabilize SOEs and strengthen governance systems in line with the interventions, in line with the reforms and the turnaround plans introduced by the DPE. Some boards have already sped up filling vacant executive management positions in the hope of ensuring that our SOEs are equipped with competent, experienced, ethical, courageous, and committed leadership that can make a difference. And the minister has already described some of the appointments, and I will not delve in that. Suffice it is to say that the key point, honorable members, here is that line departments that will oversee SOEs in the 7th administration of the government of national unity will inherit a stable portfolio of SOEs that I further recalibrated through ethical leadership, strategic foresight, and improved oversight and governance. Now allow me to respond to some of the comments made. The tariffs that the
Member.
DA alluded to.
Honorable member, your time is up.
Chair,
Thank you.
Chair. We are going to be subjected to this for the next 5 years.
Honorable Mautwe,
Hi.
you're not allowed
Take us
to
to
do
us,
that.
corporate, please.
Honorable members, the next and last speaker will be the Minister of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation. Honorable Minister, in your initial allocation of 15 minutes, you used 12. You now have 8 minutes.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm a woman of a few words, but I always make my point very clear. Let me take this opportunity, of course, Honorable Chairperson, to thank the interventions that were brought into this House from all the people that debated on this particular debate. Indeed, there's a lot that we need to do together. We may not agree on everything. However, as long as we do know that even in our disagreement, it becomes important and crucial that we work together for the sake of making sure that we deliver the services to the people that put us here today to be called honorable members. So as a result, of course, in the portfolio committee, we will definitely ensure that we do have, and let me, before I say that, thank the good work that have been done by the SOCs, most especially the CEOs and the boards of those SOCs. You did very well. Yes, you had challenges that you faced, but you did very well in making sure that you improve the SOEs, but you also make sure that the reforms that were put in place, you followed them to the latter to make sure that at least at the end of the day, we are able to account to Parliament. And I am very much sure and confident that the work that you have been doing in implementing those reforms will also be brought to the portfolio committee in a way of accounting to say that this is where we were, this is where we are going, and this is how we are going to do it. It is for this reason that I definitely know without a doubt, honorable members, that that workshop where we will be listening to all the SOEs in terms of where they came from, where they are in terms of stabilizing the SOEs, and where the trajectory that we are taking, that is definitely going upwards, how it will definitely take place. So congratulations and keep up the good work. Having said that, I would just like maybe our honorable members to just take you through a little bit of what this national state-owned enterprise bill will actually be doing. Of course, we will still go through a process of getting a workshop so that we can engage with it. But of course, the portfolio committee members will then now be given a responsibility to make sure that they engage with it, but they also take it forward in terms of making sure that all parliamentary processes that are necessary are adhered to. And this bill will then now be fit for purpose. It will not just be a bill that is there. The objectives of the bill, of course, amongst the others, will be to provide that the state is the sole shareholder of the holding company, so we are not privatizing, and that the president is the representative of the shareholder. However, the president may delegate the shareholder function to a cabinet minister. As a result, definitely without a doubt, the issue of making sure that there is oversight by the portfolio committee will be adhered to. The state-owned enterprise bill is also aimed at establishing a state-owned holding company named the State Asset Management SOC Ltd. It will also enhance the operational efficiency of the state enterprises in order to achieve the state's developmental objectives, as I've already said. It will also transfer the shareholding of certain identified enterprises to the holding company in phases, in order that the operations of those enterprises are independently supervised by the holding company. So some of the issues that were raised are definitely going to be addressed in this particular holding company. But it will also provide for the appropriate and effective monitoring and reporting mechanisms and over the subsidiaries. So we are definitely committed to ensuring that our state-owned enterprises are run in such a way that they will be accountable, but they will stick to their developmental role that they were actually created for. Having said that, let me just take that, of course, as myself and the Deputy Minister, we did meet with the SOEs to just come and be appraised on where we are. And we must say that indeed the state capture process or the state capture time nearly destroyed the good SOCs that we have. But we have to support these SOCs in order to reform so that they can get back to what they were, so that they can stick to what they were created for. Having said that, and I think I really need to really say this in terms of what has been said about the port. When I think just before the new executive was actually put in place as it relates to Transnet, we used to have 23 about containers that are actually at the ports. Now we've got about 6, and it means that there is definitely a clear improvement as it relates to what we are doing. So I really do believe that through us as the shareholder representative and the portfolio committee, we can be able to support the SOEs to be able to do what they were meant to do. And I can gladly say that through this GNU and through this parliament, we then now can be able to build a better South Africa and be able to serve our people, because we were not just elected to come and debate, but we were elected to ensure that our people are served, because we went with our manifestos to them, and it is our responsibility together to ensure that we speak to those manifestos and we are able to make sure that we see them on the ground. Having said that, thank you very much to the honorable members, and I am looking forward, Madam Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, to come and account, but also to go through a workshop that will allow us to clearly come up with a way forward that will assist and support our SOEs, but also to ensure that this wonderful bill that is supposed to be assisting us to reach all these things that are being said here is passed timelessly so that we can serve our people. Thank you very much, House Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Honorable members, that concludes the debate and the business of the mini plenary session. The mini plenary will now rise.
Don't follow dead things, man. Come here. Come here. I'll benefit greatly here. Discussions before we dispatch you to a person. I want. Bring him here. Because that councillor is still in a lot of things. Away. Yeah, because you want to go outside. I think said,